Is there at the White House with more. Good morning to you, Mary.
Good morning, Robin. And we are now 3 days into this campaign, and President Trump has yet to fully make the case for this war to the American people, even after American lives have been lost. There are still big questions about why the U.S. is acting now and what comes next. Now, the administration is set to brief congressional leaders later today and the full Congress tomorrow, but Democrats are demanding that this war be put to a vote. The House is expected to take up a war powers resolution later this week, but it is unlikely that will become law. Meanwhile, here at the White House, the president still has no plans to field questions from the press or formally address the nation to make his case for war. George.
Okay, Mary, thanks. The president did speak to her. The defense secretary focused on this 47 years of violence coming from the Iranian regime, declined to lay out what the imminent threat was here. He talked about the nuclear weapons. Those were set back last year. He talked about the ballistic missiles. According to our Defense Intelligence Agency, Iran was about 10 years away from developing any kind of a missile that could hit the United States.
Yeah, George, in fact, 9 years away is what U.S. intelligence had concluded. The Secretary of Defense here is arguing that the U.S. didn't start this war, citing that long litany of Iranian hostilities, but he still hasn't gotten at that question of why the U.S. acted now, because, as he said, there's been 47 years of Iranian belligerence. As you noted, he is arguing that they did pose a threat to the U.S. because they were developing missiles and drones that were capable of creating this conventional shield, he said, for nuclear blackmail ambition, saying that Iran had a conventional gun to their head, but again, without evidence and without specifics. Now that takes care of their explanation for why they were acting now. But as to what comes next, the Secretary of Defense arguing that this is, not a war about regime change, despite the fact that the president has made clear he did seek to create a power vacuum here. But they are clearly putting the onus for what comes next on the Iranian people, saying they need to take advantage of this opportunity. And the secretary went to great lengths to push back against the criticism that the president long promised not to be in the business of regime change, not to drag the U.S. into more foreign conflicts. He is saying that this is going to be a decisive mission without laying out a timeline. He is not ruling out U.S. troops on the ground, and he is arguing that they are not going to be involved in a nation-building quagmire. That's how he described it, George.
Okay, Mary. Bruce, want to go to Rachel Scott. She's our chief congressional correspondent. Of course, Rachel, Congress is going to have a say this week.
Yeah, George, they will.
Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce is in Washington with more. Hello, Mary.
Hello. Well, we are now 3 days into this campaign, but there's still a lot of unanswered questions about this war and what comes next, even as now at least 4 Americans have died. Now, we have now received charge, Will.
And Mary, how long is this campaign expected to go on?
Yeah, it's a very good question. While President Trump has said this operation could continue, possibility of U.S. troops on the ground in Iran, and he is warning that more American lives will likely be lost. Now, in the meantime, the administration is briefing members of Congress this week, but Democrats are demanding that this war be put to a vote. Now, as for the president, as of now, he still has, no plans to formally field questions and no plans for a long formal address to the nation. Guys.